Mhm. Hmm. Just gonna text a few folks to see what their timing is. Oh, there we go. So we have 1, 2, 3, one more.
So there might be a little confusion. The first draft agenda I sent out had an old link. And then the final draft I sent out to all the commissioners had the new updated link. So
So the link had changed, the Zoom link had changed?
not the final agenda that was posted with the town and that I sent out had the correct Zoom. There was an
So,
earlier draft.
I never
because
got
what I
it.
was,
I never got the
I,
later one.
Okay.
what was that, Amy?
I never got the later.
No, I don't, but I don't think the link is in essence a town Zoom meeting link. So I don't know if that, I'm surprised that that changed.
Oh, no, it always
Oh,
changes. It's not a
I
recurring.
didn't get it till yesterday, but
Oh.
it didn't say it was.
Because
It said, please review, don't. And it talked about meeting minutes, so I didn't realize, no, that's the, please.
Yeah,
because I got onto a Zoom the other day with a different board and it was the exact same Zoom link. It's just it depends on what time of day uh you connect. Um,
Oh, wait, this one doesn't talk about the,
I believe it was with my regulatory review report. I sent out the final agenda that went out on Sunday.
I didn't see, I just saw your regulatory review report. I didn't
Okay.
see the new
so
agenda.
Janet, when you linked the Zoom, did you get a new Zoom? Where did you get a new Zoom link from?
So every time you create a meeting, you get unless it's a reoccurring meeting, which
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do because um, the Sustainability Committee also uses the exact same password. And
Right. And are they meeting right now?
no, no.
So I'm not clear why that was, but we can talk about that offline.
Yeah,
Uh,
it was just when I sent out the draft, it was a copy and paste from the last meeting, and I hadn't updated the Zoom yet.
right, but that Zoom I think if we look at previous Zooms, they all had the same the same Zoom invite.
No, actually, they're all different. Yep,
Okay. Well,
yep.
mhm.
Because when you schedule a specific meeting, it
Well,
gives,
no, right, which is why recurring meetings tend to have the same one. So, we can discuss that offline. So I think we're waiting for, is Sarah, Amy, do you know if Sarah's coming tonight?
yeah,
thought
she
so.
said, yep, she said she was coming tonight.
Oh, okay.
And
Came to my meeting last night.
Can you, Amy, would you mind texting Sarah? I've
Um,
texted Tim.
She's probably looking for the link. Let me pull the link so I can just send her the link.
Probably the easiest way to get the link is to go to the Dover website and go to agendas and
Oh, I
it'll
can
come
pull it
through.
off of Zoom.
Cam, have you had any experience with the Zoom links changing at all, or is yours a recurring meeting?
I haven't really focused on that so much. I just go to the agenda and click on it. When I was on the warrant committee, I had the good fortune for somebody else to create the agenda, so I didn't have to do it.
Let's see. Okay, Debbie. So Janet, you're saying, I'm just going to text Tim again. You're saying that the last, or actually this is Sarah? Hi. I'm just curious, can you unmute? Are you on your phone or?
So I put
Yeah.
in the code that was on the meeting agenda, but it said it was for September 24th.
Right.
Right?
So when Amy sent it to me, so I'm on my
Oh, okay.
phone.
Excellent. Okay, so let's see. Amy,
Do you
did
want
you
to
text that to,
just
can you
go to
send the
your-
same to Tim, please? Do you
okay?
have his?
Probably.
the official Zoom link on the official agenda on the website is the correct link.
Is that is that the one that you changed?
Well, I sent out a draft to the whole commission to get your review and comments, and then I sent the final version with the correct Zoom link. It was just that the draft had an old link, but it was clearly marked a draft. It wasn't the final.
Oh, see,
Mhm.
on mine, it just says meeting agenda October 8th. So it wasn't a draft.
I think in my message to everyone, I said this is, because I was asking for everyone's, if you had any agenda items to add. But
Okay,
it won't
well,
happen again. I will not do that way again.
thank you. And let's see, Amy, did you have a chance to send that out to Tim?
Yep. Just
Thank
sent
you.
it.
Okay, why don't we, since we currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, we have a quorum, so we will go ahead and proceed with the meeting. So welcome everyone. Thank you for your patience. And to the October 8th, 2025 Dearborn Conservation Commission hearing. I will do a roll call vote. Let's see, Amy Moot. Okay.
Here.
Thank you. Zager Alsnaitis.
Here.
Okay. Sarah Monaco. and John Sullivan are currently here. So as we let me read the public meeting tonight is being held virtually pursuant to Mass Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, which extend through June 30th, 2027, which gives us the ability of public bodies to meet in a fully remote manner. So with that, prior to opening, or actually as we open the meeting, we open with a request for any public comments for anyone who's not here for items that are on the agenda. Is there anybody who has any questions that they'd like to bring to our attention? Okay, hearing none, we will open things up for starting with 12 and 14 Miller Hill Road, a compliance update. So Janet, why don't you fill us in?
Sure. So the commission had issued an enforcement order back in 2023 for the unpermitted removal of an extensive amount of vegetation and trees within a wetlands buffer zone. As part of the enforcement order, we required submittal of an ecological restoration plan for 1214 Miller Hill and 3638 Farm Street. That was submitted on May 23rd, 2024. That was approved by the commission. One of the requirements is that we have a spring and fall monitoring update by the homeowners who are represented by Goddard Consulting. And they submitted the spring 2025 monitoring report to all parties. That was dated June 10th, 2025. And there was a site visit to review the monitoring status. That site visit was on June 10th, 2025. And so we are now having a further review of that monitoring report, as well as feedback both from our third-party consultant, Ecotech, Paul McManus, and other commissioners and other parties who attended that site meeting. And I would suggest that we start by having the representative from Goddard, Chris, here. Just briefly review his monitoring report. There are 6 specific topics in the report that were required in the restoration plan. So perhaps he could just review those briefly. And then I would recommend a discussion and observations during the site meeting, and then a discussion of next steps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
If that's good with the commission, I will jump in at this point. For the record, my name is Chris Frateroli with Goddard Consulting. We have been working on this project for a long time now and have been, keeping regular tabs on the site, both last year as the restoration plan was implemented and then over the course of this year through the first growing season. So, yeah, we did in June submit our spring monitoring report. The handful of items on there, I'll just kind of run through really quickly. Ultimately, there was nothing terribly exciting to note at that point. First off, we took note of our perimeter fencing and plant protections. So we had deer exclusion fencing around the entire restoration area. That, all survived the winter intact. There were a few portions that had sagged that we propped back up. We also installed herbivory protection sleeves around the base of most of our plantings. And, we inspected all those again in the spring. They were all intact and noted no evidence of herbivory. We did, over the course of our monitoring, we have observed a variety of wildlife using the site. We found a snapping turtle nest. We see snakes and voles and rodents regularly. There are often hawks circling the site. So those are all good things to see. As far as erosion control, stabilization, we came out of the winter, obviously seed hadn't really germinated yet because it went down late last year. But as we entered the spring growing season, that seed started to come through really nicely. And over the course of the year, the site stabilized very, very well. We still to date have noticed really no erosion of any kind. We do have silt fence at the bottom limit of work, which I think we had discussed. It's probably time to remove that. We do also have wattles up and down the slopes throughout the areas that were most disturbed during our restoration activities, which are still in place, and we think we're going to leave those in place because they're 100% biodegradable, so no reason not to. We did assess regrowth of invasive species at that point as well. Really, after our initial implementation, there was not a whole lot left to speak of. Really, no large stands remained at that point. Everything was kind of small and sporadic, and that has been continued to be treated over the course of this year. Our seed germination had been fair at that point in the spring, and since then has improved dramatically. We have noted a wide variety of grasses and herbaceous species that we know to be in that seed mix coming through. So we're looking really good on that front. And at that point in the spring, our planting survival has been excellent. We noted really only 9 out of something like 650 plantings that were not looking good. At that point, we had 7 oaks that were mostly dead and clearly had not survived the winter well. And we will get to that a little bit more as I move on. Then we noted some, upcoming work, which was really just turning on irrigation, continued invasive species management, general monitoring as we move through the season, and that sort of thing. So I did put together a little PowerPoint of some photos over the course of the year. If I could share my screen, I'm happy to run through them quickly.
Yep, all set.
All right. Are we seeing this okay?
Yep.
Beautiful. So I won't spend too much time on any of these, but just to give a feel for commissioners who weren't able to make it out to the site this year, coming out of winter, things were looking pretty good. We had some trees that were leaning that all got straightened out. Here we are looking up from the bottom of the slope. We can see pretty clearly all of our plantings at this point. As we moved into the spring, we started to see some of those, we see these white flowers in the middle there, serviceberry flowers. We see some buds popping on many of our plantings. Again, buds popping on these trees. Moving a little closer to the growing season, the trees are leafing out. Everything's looking pretty nice and green at this point. I did want to point out we were very proud of our mountain laurel survival. They all flowered in the spring and they're gorgeous. The nursery had advertised them as having an abysmal survival rate, and they all survived the winter. And I believe all of them have survived throughout the growing season as well. So happy to see that. Moving into June and July here as we go through these photos. We see a wattle going across here. This had been one of our access roads coming down from the top of the site towards the bottom of the hill. So we see that seed mix coming in nicely. We can see some wildflowers coming in, and overall, pretty decent stabilization there. I do want to point out this picture. Another thing we're pretty proud of is, a year ago, this was a solid wall of Japanese knotweed right here. So we're very happy to see that at this point in the year, there is absolutely none regrowing. Obviously, there's, still the potential that something resprouts from seed stock or from root stock or some latent seed. But, we're keeping an eye on that with our ongoing invasive management. And some photos from our monitoring site walk that we had done about 2 weeks ago now. We had a good group out there and, walked the site, took stock of basically what we have. Everything's looking very, very good from a seed germination standpoint. Everything's looking great from a plant survival standpoint. And ultimately, we are very, very pleased with how this has gone so far. Now, I guess some of the bad, the very little that there is, we did tally 14 dead or very nearly dead trees at our fall monitoring data collection day, which was, I believe it was the 22nd of September. But out of over 600 trees planted, we're at about a 98% survival rate, which in my experience is really remarkable, especially for a restoration project of this scale. Of those 14 dead, 12 are all white oaks. They all came from the same nursery. So we think that really most likely their demise had something to do more with how they were harvested at the nursery or, transported to us rather than something that, has arisen from some sort of site-specific characteristics or something like that. So that's, obviously unfortunate. But overall, really a drop in the bucket of all the plants that went in the ground. I do also want to just make note that we did, once we kind of got into the implementation phase last year, we did go through and GPS locate and tag over 100 additional stump sprouts that had been regrowing. And really, Nick from Crawford Land Management and I went through, and our rough criteria was really anything taller than us. We really picked the best of the best to inventory and track. Those are all being trained back into 1 liter with the intention of turning those into, viable trees as we move forward here. And there, just to be clear, there are hundreds of stump sprouts, trees mostly, and a variety of shrubs regrowing as well. They all have a great head start and have a much more robust root system and likelihood of survival than anything we could ever hope of planting. So that is really a great boon to our restoration effort here. As far as maintenance, Crawford Land Management had been on site 2 or 3 times a month all throughout the growing season since March or April. They straightened out some trees. There were some hiccups with irrigation early in the year. So it was a little bit before the irrigation got turned on, but it did get turned on and has been running since. And probably most importantly for year 1 maintenance and monitoring, there have been repeated invasive management follow-ups. Everything that's left at this point is really small, sporadic, intermittent, and we're very pleased with basically the status of invasive cover in the restoration area at this point. It is in a very manageable place. And again, I noted this earlier, but no Japanese knotweed regrowth. I think we all know how much of a bear that is to get rid of. So that's great to see as well. As far as stabilization, seed germination at this point has been very strong throughout the site. There are, a few gaps here and there, but ultimately we have full stabilization and have noted no erosion concerns whatsoever. There's a silt fence at the bottom of the hill that I mentioned earlier, and I think on our site walk we had decided that that's probably good to come out. And the wattles along the mid slope and some of the more open areas, we are planning to let them stay in place. They're just straw and fully biodegradable. So that's what I've got for my little presentation here. Hope that provided some, visual aid to what we've been doing out here over the course of the year. And all in all, we are very, very pleased with where we stand right now.
Okay, great. Thanks, Chris. Paul, as our representative, do you want to fill us in from your point of view?
Sure. I was on the site walk as you were, John. A pointed issue. I do agree that it would be good to get the silt fence at the bottom of the slope. I agree that that's a good idea to get that out of there so it doesn't get an additional year of growth around and through it, making it just that much more disruptive to remove. So I would endorse that. I think Chris's characterization is accurate in terms of the success. As he said, there's still localized bare spots that don't have much herbaceous cover in them, but overall it's coming in well. The cover is good. I'm anxious to see some of the aerial coverage metrics that we had talked about on the site walk that I know Chris and his associates are putting together. But I think overall the condition out there is as good as one might reasonably hope. And I think it's on a really good trajectory.
Great, thank you. Janet, any questions on your part?
Just a couple of things. So the enforcement order, just to remind everyone, we did require a 5-year biannual restoration report. So we're into really beginning the 2nd year of that, but we have several additional years of monitoring. The enforcement order also required 75% site coverage with vegetation within 2 full growing seasons. And Paul just mentioned some bare spots, and I'm just wondering if it's anticipated additional plantings are needed at this point, or are we going to wait and see how things come up?
So I think from our perspective, I think, most of the bare spots are really something you can almost wrap your arms around. I think, it may warrant another light spot application of seed either at the end of this year or in the spring. But really not something that requires a dramatic corrective action, I don't think.
Okay.
I would agree with that.
Mhm.
I think I think they're probably at the 75% right now. I think they've probably reached that metric. I'd be really interested in Sally's aerials.
Okay.
The only other thing I wanted to confirm is there is no herbicide use for the invasive management, correct?
There was spot herbicide treatment, which I believe was part of I know it was part of the invasive species management plan, and I know we had requested a waiver from that. I would have to check with Crawford on exactly what the location or extent of that is.
Okay, that is right. The commission did approve some limited spot treatment as needed. Yeah.
And I would say, having been on the site, it is the most remarkable extermination of Japanese knotweed that I've encountered. And I think, I don't know if it was you, Chris, or if it was Crawford. Was that a matter of cutting and injecting?
So I know the way that they do it is they don't cut it. It's actually like a direct stem injection with like a sort of an injector needle, a hollow needle. So you're able to get that herbicide into the internode space between the nodes on the stalk, but you still allow the plant to keep growing and photosynthesizing, transporting carbohydrates and doing its thing. And that really facilitates that transport of herbicide well, because that is a systemic herbicide. So it does transport down into the root system, which I think that application method is really conducive to.
Okay, great. Janet, continue.
And that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, everyone. As we'd mentioned, we'd noted on the site visit, it is if you incorporate the rootstock that is returning, there's actually been they're over 100% of their goal, and with the irrigation system, it looks like very likely that they'll continue so, which is an unusual restoration situation. Sally, have you been out there recently?
I have not been out there. Chris Politan came to the site walk a couple weeks ago. So I thought his expertise was going to be better than mine. But I do want to make arrangements with Ken and Sam and with Powers That Be to get out there and do that drone flight. This is a good time of year with the colored leaves, sort of, it's easier to sort of tell what's what. So, and we did a drone flight. I think most of our drone flights have been in the fall, including when we first discovered it and walked out there with Ken. So it'd be nice to have those, to have that, since the initial discovery and then the 5 years of regrowth. So
So fingers crossed, things look promising.
Yep.
Are there any other involved parties that have any comments concerning this?
Yeah, Ken Soderholm, I'd like to make one comment.
Okay.
So I can let the experts weigh in on this, but we're just a little concerned about the white oak loss, because we don't want to see everything counted as a 1-for-1, and you'd have some low bush counting as much as a white oak tree. And in the long run, if we're having a large die off of the white oaks, you know, we'd be a little concerned about that. So I wouldn't mind hearing from the experts about that.
And
Other
Chris,
than that, I think we have been pretty impressed with the work out there and the success so far.
Good, thank you. Chris, you mentioned 600 trees. Was that trees and bushes, or?
It was, I believe I don't have the numbers in front of me right now. I believe it was 604 trees, and then something like an additional 50 or 100 shrubs.
So, and had anybody gotten in touch that you know of? I don't know if this was Crawford responsibility, but just what Ken had mentioned had been mentioned at the site visit regarding whether to source additional oaks, whether or not you guys got credit for them, or what's in the concern of an isolated area of monoculture.
Yeah, so I guess, you know, just backing up for one quick second to Ken's comment, you know, we really don't, the white oaks are certainly, you know, an interesting phenomenon that we've seen out here. They were all within, you know, the 12 that didn't make it were all within about 20 tag numbers. So they were really all just one batch. And so it was quite isolated in that regard. We can certainly work out, you know, what we think is appropriate as a replacement. I know the Farm Street properties are eager to, you know, keep that kind of oak dominated forest that had been there. I have not yet followed up with Nick from Crawford to see if he had checked in with the nursery on any possible coverage or warranty or replacement.
Okay. Can you communicate with Ken and TTOR regarding that? And you voiced correctly their concern was they have a nice oak setup on their property that had been removed. They'd like to continue that.
Yeah, I will add that to my to-do list to check in with Nick and see if he had followed up with the nursery, and then we will game plan, you know, for any possible replacements. I would say, you know, we are our only concern in that regard is the fact that replacing those trees in kind would require a machine getting through there, which at this point is probably more disruption than it's worth. You'd have to move, you know, dozens of trees out of our quote unquote roadway to make that happen. So I'm sure that we can come to some sort of understanding on those dozen or so.
Okay, great. Keep us posted, please.
Absolutely.
Any other comments?
Just a question for Chris. When do you expect to issue your fall monitoring report?
I believe it's due by the end of the year, but we are actively working on it in terms of, you know, crunching our data plots and our GPS and GIS work. So I would imagine it's sooner than that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anything else concerning 12 and 14 Miller Hill? Okay, then let's stay in communication, and good work for all parties. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, folks. Have a good night.
Next up, we have 14 Rural Drive, an enforcement order and order conditions permit compliance update. Jenna, why don't you bring us up to reasonable date here?
Sure. So as the commission will recall, we had issued an enforcement order for this property back in June. Actually, it was prior to June for the unpermitted removal of a fairly large number of trees and also some disturbance very close to the wetlands, vegetation removal, and some wood chip fill. The enforcement order required that they submit a notice of intent. And the commission issued an order of conditions at their June 25th, 2025 meeting. There were a fairly large number of requirements in that order that had deadlines, and including installation of bounds, 2 types of signage. There was also a requirement that the restoration plan was to be completed by the end of the summer growing season of this year. Adequate watering has to be provided for 2 to 3 years. 70% cover with native species had to be completed within 2 years. And then we were to receive notice 5 days prior to the beginning of the planting installation. And as far as I know, none of those items have been completed. The house is on the market. So the concern is that any prospective buyer should be aware of the outstanding order of condition requirements. And I know the wetland consultant, Debbie Anderson, is here, and I believe one of the co-owners, Phil McGowan, is here. And perhaps they could provide us with an update on where they are with the restoration plan.
Okay, great. Thank you. Who would like to kick off that?
I'll jump in. It's Phil McGowan. So just to give the commission an update, where we are right now is we're still in the process of sourcing the plantings. We have not begun the work. And we are well aware that in order to do that work, we do need to have Janet come back out with Debbie and supervise where we'll be putting that. The initial landscaping company that we worked with was unable to source the plants. We've contracted with a second company at this stage, and they're in the process of trying to source all of them to give us the feedback as to when they can begin the work. And once we have that, we can update Janet when we intend to begin that work so that she can come out and see the site and then see where we're going to be putting all of the plantings in order to be compliant with the plan.
And thank you. Deb, what type of plants are you calling for?
Hi. So we have just over 200 shrubs, including winterberry, inkberry, witch hazel, beaked hazelnut, Virginia rose, lowbush blueberry, black huckleberry, and sweet fern. We have 12 trees going in, river birch, eastern redbud. And then we have ground cover going in one of the restoration areas, consisting of hay-scented fern, Pennsylvania sedge, purple coneflower, and black-eyed Susan. So it's 3 separate restoration area plantings.
Okay. So I would say I have seen 3/4 of those shrubs and trees available at nurseries in Eastern Massachusetts over the course of the last 3 weeks. So Debbie, are you ever involved in nursery selection with clients, or is that always left up to landscapers?
I had met on site with their landscaper right after the plan was approved by the commission, and did go over the plantings with them. You know, he mentioned specifically beaked hazelnut, maybe not being able to find that. So I told him it would probably be okay just to up the numbers of the other shrubs. And then I was kind of just on hold, waiting to hear back from them when they had the plants. And then I was planning to meet out there with them. I would assume a landscaper would have, you know, more of an opportunity as far as finding items wholesale than I would with the nurseries that I work with.
No, that's and I appreciate that. I just my concern is we only have a few more weeks left in a planting season. And are there any fallback plans for what happens if you can't acquire? And even one of the options here, not options, but one of the tasks that could be done would be to do a planting with what is available, and get something in there as soon as possible. Phil, have you given any thought to what happens if you can't get this done before the winter?
The new landscaping company, Gonzalez Landscaping, feels confident that they could get all of the plantings. So we had intended to try to get everything in before the end of this planting season. I hadn't really explored planting portions and not the whole component, but if that's something that we could do this year and then finish the rest in the spring, we can potentially push him to move a bit faster.
Yeah, we would prefer, you know, a one and done, but if your landscape is telling you that they feel pretty sure that they can get everything, I think that's the route we'd like to take. But I think you should give some thought to a fallback in case.
Okay, I can talk to him in the next few days.
And
Okay,
I
and-
assume if we have
Oh, you keep-
difficulty getting specific species, that we could run by some replacements with Janet.
Absolutely. No, well, the point is we want vegetation in here, and you know, especially prior to, you know, rather than messing things up with the sale and things of that nature, we'd like to have this on the ground, you know, before then. So why don't we, Debbie, if you can maintain contact with Janet, please, just for updates, to reach out and let her know when Phil has acquired a landscape company and when they're going to start their work.
Sure.
Okay, Janet, any other questions?
Yeah, so the other deadline was for the installation of our standard permanent bounds and 2 types of wetland protection signage. That was to have been installed within 21 days of the permit issuance. That would have been the beginning of August. I'm wondering, Phil, has the order of conditions been recorded at the registry? And I guess that's my first question.
I'll need to check on that, Janet. I didn't have that recorded. I can check with Pat.
Okay. And also just for the record, because I think, Phil, you had sent me an email that you thought the applicant was just 14 Rule Drive LLC, but actually the applicant on the order of conditions, the applicant was Pat Corrigan. And then the organization was 14 Rule LLC, just to clarify that. But what I'd like,
Shouldn't it be the owner of the property, which is 14 Rule Drive LLC?
So the permit form from the state indicates a name and then the organization. So that's how we follow it. So Pat's name was on the application.
Okay,
So he was the formal applicant as associated with the LLC.
okay.
And that order of conditions went directly to Pat at 176 South Main Street in Sherborne. I think that's his home address or the company's address.
It's the company's address, yeah.
So that needs to be recorded as soon as possible. And then I'll reach out to you, Phil, in the next week to meet you on site to talk about where the permanent bounds and signs should go in. Those really should go in as soon as possible.
Okay, that sounds great.
And then the only other thing, a heads up in the order of conditions, there is a requirement that any successor in ownership has to have specific deed language. So when you sell the property, and also as you are meeting with the prospective buyers, you know, you really should disclose there's an order of conditions. This is what it's for, this is what's required. But there is specific deed language that the closing attorneys will need to include in any new deed.
Okay,
And Janet, is that in the order conditions?
Yes.
The wording itself?
Yeah. Oh, no, the wording itself is not. So the commission approves specific wording. So once you do have a buyer, you can just reach out to me. I'll provide that link.
Okay. Because, yeah, I think the concern we have here is making sure that a potential buyer doesn't purchase his property without any knowledge. So that's hence the reason for having things recorded at the registry. So at the very least, that order conditions should have been recorded already. And so why don't we, Phil, can you get back to us with a confirmation that you actually still have it in hand? You can check with Pat.
Sure, I can do that.
Okay, because we don't want any further delay on that. Okay, are there any other questions concerning this from any commissioners and anyone else? Okay, then let's ramp up a little bit more frequent communication to make sure we get this rolling, please, between both Deb, Phil, and Janet. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay, next up, we have 90 Claybrook Road, Tracy Mannon, an enforcement order compliance update. Janet, why don't you fill us in on where we're at?
So, as you'll recall, we issued an enforcement order back in February of this year for unpermitted removal of trees within a wetland as well as within a buffer zone. And the enforcement order required a number of things, including a wetland delineation. And also, there had not been a certificate of compliance for a previous order of conditions when the house was built. And in addition, there had been an oil spill on the property. There had been a hazardous materials immediate response action plan that was submitted to Mass DEP back in 2013, and we were just looking for the status of that. It looks like that they were in compliance with the Mass contingency plan, but we didn't have anything in our files. And the commission had voted to bring Paul McManus from Ecotech on as a third party to review the wetland delineation. And then once we have that in hand, we would then issue an amended enforcement order with specific restoration plans noted. So Paul had done a site meeting with Tyler Drew, who's online here, and also with, I think, Artie from Cheney Engineering. That was back in June 26th. Paul had asked for some additional information which has not been received. And so we were looking for an update on where they are with the project, and then next steps.
Okay, thank you. Paul, can you give us a quick run through of your communications? And it seems like communications have stopped for a bit.
Sure. As Janet said, but June 26th, I did do a site walk with Tyler from Beta and Artie, the engineer. I had made some comments on the delineation, which I think there was agreement in the field that those would be revisions to the delineation would be made on the plan, and I have not yet received that revised plan. And also, as Janet said, we had kind of done some preliminary discussion about what would be needed in a restoration plan, and again, that has not been forthcoming.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, Tyler, it's we have the floor. Fill us in on what happened here and what the plans are.
Sure. Yep, Tyler Drew with Beta Group. Yeah, so they both kind of touched on it already. Following our initial hearing in May, we had drafted up the certificate of compliance documents that were mentioned, as well as the restoration plan. And then we had our site visit where we had discussed some alterations to the plan. We discussed some some alterations to the existing conditions plan, and some information from that plan is required to finish the restoration plan. as well as some documents that are needed for the actual certificate of compliance request. So the all the materials are drafted. They just haven't been updated as of that field meeting.
Mhm. And is there a reason for that delay, or that, we're going on 4 months or 3.5 months?
No, I'm not sure that Artie was the engineer taking care of the existing conditions plans, and those other documents. We require his signature for a few of those, but I haven't talked to him since our field meeting.
Okay.
Hi,
Great, thanks.
it's Tracy. I can update a little bit. I have
Thanks.
put in at least one email and 2 phone calls to Artie. I heard nothing back for a very long time. I didn't know if there was something wrong. I did hear from him this morning via he actually called, which I was very happy about because I know Tyler and Paul have been working on this and they need things from him that they haven't gotten. So I explained to him that we were having this meeting tonight and that Tyler needed things. And I was hoping that he would get them to Tyler, but Tyler, it sounds like he hasn't contacted you since.
Nope.
Right.
Okay. So it appears that Artie is the hinge-pin in this?
Yes.
Okay.
Sadly.
Then let's see, and Debbie, you're not involved with this at all, is that correct?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so much for some pressure. No. So okay, then please stay on top of that.
I'm
and
happy to mention it to him though.
Thank you,
Okay.
Debbie. Thank you so much.
thanks. I
Sure.
appreciate it. And then on the COC situation there, was there ever an engineering as-built made, when it was originally supposed to, prior to the tree cutting and so forth? In terms of what was proposed, in the original plan?
I believe we did have an original as-built plan. I think we did have that circulating around somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're ahead of things and yet fell behind due to communication. So, Janet?
So, 2 things. The first would be, before you jump into a restoration plan, the next step would be to submit an existing condition site plan that Paul has signed off on. And I know he did indicate that there could be a vernal pool on the property. And so we want clarification on that, as well as the approved wetland delineation line. And then I think Artie added all the trees that have come down. Some of the trees are on another private property, which also complicates it. But that would be the next step, to have that final revised plan and then come back in, and I think the commission would review that, and with Paul's assistance, then outline the requirements for the restoration plan. So I wouldn't jump into any restoration outline quite yet. And then the second is, I'd recommend that the commission have a firm deadline that we set for the revised documents that we need.
So I'm thinking our first meeting in November, that gives us plans to incorporate Artie's responsiveness as well as the actually pull documents together. How does that sound, folks?
Sure.
Okay, so that gives you that in essence gives you 3 weeks, because we need documents ahead of time prior to the meeting. Okay.
Right. Could I ask one question? It sounds like from what we've been discussing, we may miss this planting season, and I do want everything to survive out there that's planted. So are we looking at, I had talked to my landscaper a couple of weeks ago, and I'm glad, I think Debbie brought this up too, or there was another conversation before this that reminded me of what's kind of going on here now. If we miss this planting season and there's not enough stock out there, would we be better off planting in the spring when they might have more of a chance of survival at this point, since we only have a few weeks left in planting season?
Let's see how things go. Planting season can go into the 3rd week of November, thereabouts.
Okay. All right.
So let's just see how much work you can get done in the next 3 weeks.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
and we take it from there. Tyler, was there any discussion about what needed to be planted?
Yeah, we did discuss that in the field. Yeah. So when we visited back in June or July, there was actually pretty aggressive regrowth of the pepper bush that was cleared there. So we discussed spacing of plantings and that sort of thing. I don't have any like drafted plans that I can show you, but we did discuss that. I don't know if you have any specific questions.
Well, it just refresh our memory. Tracy, was it something like 50% of the trees were either sick or dead or dying?
I would say about 1/3, at least 1/3 of
Okay.
them, yes, were dying, unfortunately.
Mhm.
There is, as you know, there's with the wetlands out there, we've watched them pretty much fall every year since we've moved back to town. So there's a large section in the middle that has been losing trees for years, but the outskirts to the right and left at the back of our house seem to be surviving pretty well. But unfortunately, yes, we're losing a lot of trees out there through the years. I've owned the property since 1996. And they just keep falling, unfortunately, with what's going on out there. So we did have a lot of sick trees, yes.
And is the water table increasing, or is there beaver issues, or what? Any idea what's?
I don't. Unfortunately, this isn't my profession, but
Mhm.
I have seen. Like I said, it's actually kind of sad and interesting to watch the trees pass away, but I don't think there's beaver issues. It did seem to be a little wetter than normal this spring, but normally it's not too wet out there, but definitely this spring seemed to be a little bit wetter, and that's why I'm concerned about their survival if we plant a little too late, that the root systems might not be strong enough to take on any kind of water that might come in the spring.
And Tyler, did you notice anything relative to the topography, the hydrology, or anything like that? Or were you just looking more on surface issues?
Yeah, I did focus more on the vegetation. It was when I visited in March, a large portion of the site was inundated with a couple inches of water, so that is a consideration when it comes to timing of the plantings and that sort of thing.
Well, I wonder if it may also be consideration of what you plant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Moving towards willow or something that was a little bit more water friendly in certain areas. So something to keep in mind. Janet, any other questions?
No.
John, I have
Okay.
one other
Paul,
comment. I had noted early on, and it may have been Tracy Mannion that was going to follow up on this, that there's significant areas of wood chip deposition on the abutting property to the left, which would be the east. And I think any proposed restoration plan needs to address that, but needs to acknowledge and I would suggest have clear permission from that property owner to do that work.
Oh, yes, Paul, I'm really glad you brought this up. So I reached out to him, not knowing that the landscapers were supposed to check the lines of the property. So I had no idea that they were even close to his property. But I reached out to him. I sent certified mail on June 2nd. I got absolutely no reply. He never picked it up. I actually got something returned that said he never picked it up. And I reached out again on July 9th to him. He picked it up that day. I do have a receipt for that, but he has never contacted me since. And I gave him every contact you can imagine. Address, phone number, cell phone, email address, and I haven't heard anything from him. In our dealings before, I would like to have a relationship with him because I can see that one of his trees might actually fall. Any of his trees could fall in my house, my car, my children, anything like that. I'd like to have a relationship with that man and know him, but he does not seem to attend any of the meetings about his properties in person, and just has not contacted me since, unfortunately.
Tracy, does he live there? Is there a house there?
No, not at all. He owns 4 lots. Two are down Troutbrook, one on the corner, right beside my lots. My lot is kind of long and thin. He owns the 2 on Troutbrook, and then he owns 2 further down, like around near Circle Drive. And I've never seen him here. And like I said, any of the meetings we've ever had for the 40B he was trying to do, he never.
Right. Okay. So it is him. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, I'd love to know him because I can, if my trees fall, they're only going to hit other trees. If his trees fall, they hit everything I own. So I wish he would write back to me, but he hasn't, and I'm not an aggressive person, so I don't want to annoy him more than I have, but I've even offered to buy that property, and still haven't heard back from him, so no luck right now.
Well, great. That is very elucidating. So appreciate that information. Janet, one of the things I think the tree warden only deals with trees on public property. Is that correct? Do you know?
I don't think we have a tree warden anymore anyway.
Actually,
I believe
I think it's,
the highway director is
Yeah.
the tree warden in essence.
right.
But I just wanted to clarify because it brings up an interesting question. How do you do, who do you contact? What do you do if there's an imminent danger and the landowner is not available?
I believe the tree warden only handles anything on public property.
That's what I thought.
And historic ways.
Right.
Right.
Roads. Yeah.
So
Historic.
has anyone had any experience with this particular scenario if you can't get in touch with somebody? And there's an imminent issue? I'll bring that up. I will probably set up another meeting with town council for miscellaneous items. I'll put that on the list.
Thank you.
So, okay. Are there any other comments or questions concerning 90 Claybrook? Okay, let's just move forward with a focus, please. Okay, thank you. Have a good evening. Okay, then on to Concom business. Let's see, land management work group update, and Anna is not here. Is there anybody who is familiar with what she was up to?
Yes, so we had our last meeting on September 26th. The focus was on our plan for bog bridges. The first up is Springdale Meadows, which you already saw the plan for that. The question came up, I don't think we approved a budget, and the question for the commission that she wanted me to ask was if there is a limit. Most of the supplies are under a couple $100, maybe $200 or $300. But I'm wondering, she was wondering, well, we have another meeting in 2 weeks, but I think they were hoping to go ahead and purchase those. And I didn't know if the commission was comfortable having the land management committee purchase supplies, say for under 400. Does that need to be approved by the commission? As long as it's budgeted within our operating budget, is that sufficient? Or do you have more discussion on that?
Do you know where the wood is already sitting there? Is that correct? It's the oak from that was purchased last fiscal year. Is that correct?
I believe that's right.
Okay. So and I think the only issue about that bridge there was I'd raised a concern that it drops quite a bit from the grade on either side, and whether or not the culverts that are normally used to keep things up would be enough to keep the bridge from going dropping down and then going back up. Do you know are you familiar with that? If that was reviewed?
Yeah. And I think the thought is that I think they had to sort of get some things on site before we can figure out exactly, but I think some kind of a footing or support was needed as well as stairs.
Because I think, well, one of the things to keep in mind, there are preformed footings that go up 4 feet. And so they're generally made to go down 4 feet for decks and things of that sort, but they may be very applicable. You probably have a gravel base to the stream there so that you wouldn't have to go down. You might be able to directly support it on that. It's something to look at. I think and if you want to have me meet out there to take a look at things with you and or Anna, I'd be happy to do so, just to make sure that we have something that either stays level or actually goes up and then goes across and then down. May be the appropriate way to build that. So in terms of budget, I believe we have most of what we need. So I think a budget not to exceed $1,000 additional dollars sounds like it would cover your basis. Is that correct?
Yes, that would be more than sufficient. Yep.
Okay. So I will entertain a motion for such.
Move to approve to approve permission for the purchase of up to $400 in supplies,
Up to 1,000.
up to $1,000 in supplies for the purpose of building a bridge.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. All in favor, Amy,
Aye.
Zega,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Sarah,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay. Let's see, any other land management?
Well, Zaga, Anna and I met for a walk on Monday morning at the Springdale property. Just trying to figure out if we could, I think Anna wants to see if we could like mow a path,
Mm-hmm.
the outside perimeter.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this was kind of her purview, but I think Zaga and I agreed that it would be great. I mean, the deer are kind of doing little paths, but it would be nice if there was a kind of mowed path around the outside.
So in that mode path is still visible?
No, it's only visible on the Freedman side. Like they obviously had their landscapers do kind of
Mhm.
outside the fence line and nothing else.
Okay. I'm trying to think, who have we had do that before?
I think Park and Rec used to do it.
Yeah, Park and Rec used to do it. And then did Honeywell do it before when they?
Well, he would do the whole field.
Yeah,
Right.
he just, it's
He
not
didn't do a
subtle.
path.
Yeah, so,
Not until for him to
let's
come
see,
and do
is
a
there,
path.
do I hear a volunteer to, well, actually, I'll give Mark Galoni a call and see if he can do that.
I think a long, long time ago, we had Highway doing it, but
Yeah.
Park and Rec got a fancy tractor, so then they agreed to do it.
Right.
Okay. And do we have a drawing of that path anywhere? I think we did it at one point, but does,
Oh.
that's why I asked whether or not it was still visible. So
Well, I mean,
I'll
it's
ask
the
Mark.
outside,
Yeah,
It's just
well,
the outside, but don't run into the stream, go into the.
right, no, they have to
stream,
go
And-
up
and
higher.
your
right,
tractor
right, and
over.
don't go into the vernal pool.
And do
Well,
we
you
run
can't
a
get
path?
into the vernal pool.
Do we
Stay out
run a
of
path?
water.
What's that? Stay out of water.
Stay
Yeah, I
out
think
of
that's
water.
Yeah,
reasonable.
stay out of the
Do we-
mud.
Don't
Did
go near
we-
the water.
Do we do a path that goes back to the CDC there?
No, we
The-
didn't.
Okay.
I think
so
they
just-
do. I think they do.
Yeah, so just around that perimeter out over and beyond the
Right. I
the
mean, I
horse
think
jumps.
I think land management was talking about doing some kind of a little bridge across the stream, in which case we could do, if it was big enough for the whatever tractor mower they use to get across, then we could do a path a path on the other side of the stream. But right now, I
Well,
don't think it's smart to try and drive over the stream.
No, but I
no, I'm
do
thinking,
think
well,
that Anna did say that they were going to do a bridge over that bog.
Right, but
Right.
Well,
until
that's
they do
just,
it,
that's,
then we can't.
that's
Right.
just what we were discussing, and I don't, so Janet, if you just get back to us with the proposed width of that, I think it was only 4 feet.
Yeah,
So,
it's not meant to handle heavy
yeah,
equipment.
but that can always, there is a dry spot of that stream as you go further into the field, so you can go up and around and then go back on that back
Yeah,
portion
that's
there.
true.
So you could still create that. But first things first, we'll get that up. Well, actually, the first thing would be to mow. Most likely, the second would be the path. So if we don't have a path going to a non-existent bridge for this year, I think we'll be fine. Okay, I'll give Mark a call and see if he can get somebody over there.
I also
Mm.
noticed that there isn't a sign up yet, so that's another, because it's such a like secret entrance to the back there, that even if we had a trail mode there, people wouldn't necessarily know like, oh, here's a place that we can go. So even if we don't have like a fancy official sign ready, maybe we can put up some kind of temporary sign to sort of make it stand out a little bit.
Okay, so that's Jan, whoever, if people can convey that to Anna and we can look into that. Tim, is the router permanently out of order there, or?
I am semi-permanently out of order.
Mm-hmm. And is
No,
that you or is that the router?
I've not gotten to it.
You're fading a little bit there. What?
I have not been able to repair it yet, as yet.
Okay. Is it a matter of sourcing a part or just getting
No,
into
no,
the
no,
weeds
I
on
have
it?
the parts. It's a matter of
Okay.
putting it back together.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, if you can find some time, but in the meantime, let's if land management can look at and actually, Amy, if you check DLCT where you get your signs made,
I can ask Stephen.
yeah,
Who
that,
made
and
who made the signs that we finally put up? Was that you, Tim?
Tim did.
Tim.
Tim did.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And then the router broke, and so we're waiting for that, and if that comes about. But in the meantime, DLCT seems to be on top of their signage, and maybe we can find. It doesn't have to look exactly like that. It can be a more of a 12 by 18 sign or something like that. The other thought was, did land management look at a couple sections of post and rail that would funnel, sort of create an entrance there? Was that discussed at all?
That was discussed but not resolved in the land management plan. So that's something to think about.
Okay. It's worth given the lumber, especially the cedar that was created last year. I don't know if there was any if all of it was converted into boards, but maybe if there may be the potential of using that for two 8-foot
The
sections
cedar's
of
still standing in my field.
Oh no, I'm talking about didn't one
There's
for
a white
Boynton's
oak.
that was white oak and Boynton's? I thought a cedar had already was,
No,
was
cedar
sitting
was
at
my
Jay's.
cedar's in my field, and Greg and
Ah,
Jay finally got over here to look at it a
oh, okay,
few
but not
weeks
cut
ago,
it.
but
Okay.
it's still there.
So I jumped the gun on potential, but there may be an ability to create a split rail with that. So
It won't get you all the way. It's
Is-
not
is it-
that big a tree.
Is it alive?
No, it died in
Oh,
all the droughts. Because
mhm.
I live on a ledge.
Normally you'd want to cut it in the winter.
Cut it in the what?
Winter.
Oh, well, why don't we,
Because
regardless,
the sap
it's
has run
something,
down, but
it's something for
It's
land
dead.
management
It's
to think
dead.
about, which is the 4 sections of 8-foot split rail as a potential funnel into that property, as well as the sign. So that would be helpful. Actually, Paul, I'm just looking. Are you here for anything else?
No, I was just curious of listening in on some of these things.
Okay, I'm
That's all.
just
I was
looking
about to cut out, but I'm just
okay.
here out of curiosity.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to have you linger if there was something at the end of the agenda or something like that. So
No, I
you're-
appreciate. I
always worth-
appreciate that. I was curious about Springdale.
Oh, okay. So it's yeah, you're always welcome. So
Thanks.
okay, then
I'm
next.
gonna cut out though.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Good
Have a
night.
good evening. Thanks for
You
your
too.
help. Next we have minutes, or do we? I'm not really clear where we stand on that. Deb, can you fill us in?
Yeah, well, as you can see, I've been taking minutes via
Those
old
minutes,
style.
yes.
And so anyway, I intended to get the August, I believe it was the August 10th. And I'm halfway through, but it's been busy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, you're now working more hours, so
Yeah.
that's helpful.
Yeah, and I did get a lot of backlog taken care of. So that is a very big thing. So we should be getting a lot of couple of OOCs and a couple of COCs recordings, and that's great.
Mm-hmm. Great. And yeah, so we're and Deb, did you got the letter from HR from
I
Robin?
did.
Okay.
I did.
And so you're now on board?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, welcome. So Deb is now on board officially as our administrative assistant.
Oh, thank you.
That's awesome.
And also she's been working with IT. They've just, moved a lot of files over from computers, from Lori's computer, opened up emails access. And so Deb's in the process of going through and organizing that and breaking things down into addresses and having multiple documents and folders so that we can we have a more easily accessible record of where we stand with things. And we've discussed that, and I'll be talking to Janet about that as well to help Deb. We want to create a matrix so that we know what we have for outstanding enforcement orders, outstanding orders of conditions, and things of that sort, so we can keep abreast of those things. Let's see. So we currently then have no minutes to approve for tonight. Is that correct?
Not
Janet,
not for me.
okay, and Janet, was it you sent out the one on the Zoom minutes?
I did. So now that I'm a co-host, it generated, Zoom automatically generated a transcription of the meeting. And I sent that out, and what it was word for word. Now it needed some reformatting. Not everything was 100% right, but I was really surprised at the quality of the discussions that it captured. And my proposal would be that, we have almost a 2-year backlog, that we use the Zoom transcription to give us a baseline, and then Deborah would be able to then tailor it, to our own formatting and the public hearing type of process. So it's not 100%, but it's a much better start. And I'll be honest, I know Dale was doing our minutes, but she was taking over 10 hours per
Yeah.
set of minutes. And
So one of the things I saw that it's a summation. It's not an actual transcript, or at least what you sent out
yes,
appears to be that.
that's right.
And early on in this, we and Kim, please feel free to share with us. Do you use Zoom to create your minutes for your meetings?
The selectmen don't, because we have a secretary who does that for us. But the warrant committee does, and they've done that with a degree of success. And you might reach out to Woody Weiss. He might give some indications on how one proceeds with that.
Okay, thanks. Because I know we looked into this early on, and we encountered some pushback from powers that be within the town. And I'm wondering if now's, well, number one, I think this has improved as well, but I think now might be the time to where people may have been it's no longer the new thing that they're scared of. So I don't disagree with you, Jen. I think it'd be very helpful. But I think it's also, given what I see here, what I note there is that it doesn't, even though I may mention that we're dealing with a particular address, the summation doesn't incorporate that.
Right.
And so we'll
you know,
still have to.
Yeah. Is there an option when you look in there to say compose it as minutes, as meeting
I'm
minutes?
sorry. What was that, Tim?
There are. Is there an option to compose them as meeting minutes rather than just the transcription summaries?
I did not see that, but I like Cam's idea. If Warrant is using this successfully, I know Woody, and I can reach out and touch base with him on that.
Well,
So I
also,
may,
do you have access to ChatGPT?
I do. Yeah.
Try putting it in and saying convert this to minutes.
Okay. Yep.
Well, I think, but one of the things that I see right at the
Be
moment,
interesting.
based on this, and I think Tim, what you mentioned is it's worth looking into Zoom to see if you can get an actual transcription, because it may be a combination of these meeting notes combined with the video, because there's a number of things that it's not citing. warrant has plenty of things where I assume that, you know, they're getting into detail, they're mentioning numbers, they're getting into the weeds. Absolutely. I think they, you know, if they've already discovered it, we don't need to reinvent it. So that'd be great.
I'd also recommend that we at least, so Dale has generated fairly recently another set of minutes that I will
Is
review.
that
But
the 23rd of December?
yes.
Okay.
And I'd suggest that either John or Deborah reach out and just ask her to put her work on hold, and that we're sort of in a transition looking at our options.
We have a budget that was specific for her. If she is currently still doing them, and it sounds like she's sort of getting back into it, which may account for the 10 hours there. It depends on what our meeting was. I think letting her move forward for the next month, so that we're still in the process of catching up. And then we can, with the additional information we get, then we can make a decision then. I don't feel like putting this on hold, given that we already have a budget for that.
Yeah. So
Okay.
my 2 cents would be, I mean, that's fine, but I'd suggest to the commission that, you know, we see what the capabilities are with Zoom. And then Deborah, who is much more familiar with Concom matters and the language, I think she would be better suited to use those extra hours rather than Dale.
Oh, I don't disagree, and I think it's just a matter of sequence. So my concern is I don't want to put Dale on hold immediately, now that she's just started to be able to get back to do this. But I think that's a reasonable midterm goal, so that we would not exhaust Dale's budget if we can get this to work appropriately. And Deb is clearly the person who will then finish that up. But keep in mind that if we get those savings, we got ourselves in this position because the office had so many other tasks involved that Lori wasn't able to generate the minutes in the first place. So I think there's a parallel trail that we can work on for the next month to figure out what's going to work.
Well, yeah, for what it's worth, I have had over the past year some experience with a select board in another town, and I have done hybrid A1 and injecting motions and looking at transcripts that are related. And it is more expedient, I must say.
But it is a hybrid of two different flows to.
It is, but
Yeah.
you know, you would still listen to the meeting, and I found it easier. I'll leave it at that. And I've been doing this stuff for over 10 years, so I can tell you it's easier.
Good. No, there's no question. The old way put us a year and a half behind, so we know. Yeah, no, I think, but it's really a matter of making sure we have the appropriate information. The meeting notes are interesting, if not fascinating, in terms of how they operate, but we actually don't even know what they're applying to, the way that because it missed the things that would come up with that hybrid. I think all of this can come up with something that's more expedient and better. So why don't we work on that for the next 4 weeks or so? I appreciate that.
The other thing that you might consider is to take up Tim's idea of submitting not the notes, but this video to ChatGPT and asking it to create minutes.
Do we want the Conservation Commission, who's interested in water protection, to use ChatGPT?
Well, yeah, it's
good question.
It takes much less than you actually think.
Well, but what I like the term for AI, which is hallucination. Okay, and we are actually told by town council in the last year sometime that we're not ready to use AI for generating this stuff legally. And so it's just to let you know, but Tim, you're gonna say?
Yeah, you need the transcript. You can't do it off the
Okay.
recording because it's not going to identify who it is. The transcript is perfect.
Well, the
because Zoom
recording,
labels everybody.
yeah, when the recording works, well, everybody does get identified. So I think your question earlier, which is, I think there is another more in-depth component of Zoom that will outline meeting minutes outside of the summary. It does it on a separate track there. Because whenever somebody speaks, you see they get highlighted on Zoom. That gets that's part of the data field for, you know,
Right,
for that.
right. That's part of the transcript.
Yeah. And so so first thing is we'll figure out how to get the actual transcript as opposed to the meeting notes. And then we can use that as a component of the hybrid, I think. And we can always check in and see what where things stand on a town basis relative to actually utilizing AI or not on that. So but I think these are great, and the goal is to get them done and done expeditiously. Let's see, next thing. So apparently when my computer fritzed out the last time, there was the discussion about the operating budget request, which I was not aware of since it wasn't on the agenda there. It is on this evening's agenda, and we happen to have Cam Hudson here from the Selectmen. So this may not be a bad thing to bring up, which is that Cam, we have had Janet has been our consulting agent for, is it 4 years, Janet, now?
10 years.
How many?
7.
7. Whoa. Boy, you know, they say time speeds up when you get closer. And so, we have always had a consultant agent model here. We have not had a conservation agent per se. And yet what we've noticed over the last 7 years, especially that as you can tell, things get more complex, and our agent, we have a contract with Janet that for the last couple of years has been over $80,000 a year based on an $85 an hour billing rate. And each year we think that we'll have a smaller number of items to deal with, and that Janet's billings would be less. And generally that hasn't happened. And so I don't know if you were aware of, but in the last few years, we've come to the Selectmen for a transfer of funds to cover our last 3 months consistently.
I was aware of that on occasion, yeah.
So the question there is whether we should maintain that model and still hope that we'll come in, you know, cheaper, or if we should directly ask for a larger budget for that. And some of the discussion that has been earlier, but is not fully fleshed out, which is at some point when you get to, so Janet's, generally that amount of money that's been requested has been somewhere between $30,000 or $40,000 to cover that, which puts the consultant agent at a run rate of around $120,000 a year. And the discussion has been occasional of at that point whether that we're now at the point where we should have a true full-time agent, and more of the peer towns around us have been moving to that model. And so and I've mentioned in my discussions with selectmen and with town management before, and really got the sense that they were originally going to look into that when they reviewed planning board and board of health, and then the conservation wasn't included. And then I was told that we should do that on our own and come up with that. And also that no one seemed particularly nonplussed by the fact that we did come back on a consistent basis asking for more money above that budget. And so part of my interaction has been, well, if that's if that we're always in process of doing something, do we maintain that or do we increase the consulting budget? Does that sort of cover?
Yeah, I mean that's
ahead.
that's a good discussion to have, and I certainly am open-minded on to the idea of having a full-time person doing that job. But I think you have to make the case. The costs, of course, don't just include direct salaries. There's the other indirect costs that increase the price of a full-time employee. So that has to be considered as well. But I'd be all ears if you wanted to make the case. I'm certainly open-minded to the subject.
And our deadlines for getting things on the warrant this year, when are you looking for?
Typically, it's around February that is the final date, but I think you should.
But preliminary date's a little earlier than that. Okay.
Yeah, that's the limit. But it'd be good to reach out to Michael Blanchard or Mona DeSillo and get the direct timing and when those submissions are expected to be made.
Okay. Deb, could you do that? Find out what there's usually a chain of dates for preliminary and final and so forth. And
yeah, I can check with Mona.
Okay. So that covers, I think, since I wasn't here and all I saw was on the transcription meeting notes, this is how I found out about it. It sounds like I may have added another component to that, but does anybody want to recapitulate what you discussed last meeting?
Well, I'll just summarize. So it was on the agenda, John, under discussion. But I just brought it to the attention of the commission that I felt uncomfortable as a consultant in that my actual service expenses are higher than the budget. And at least 3 years running, we've had to go for a reserve fund transfer from the warrant committee. And so there's a clear pattern here. And the discussion is, what is the right number? And is that something, my preference would be to remain as a consultant. I think I bring good value to the town. I do an incredible amount of volunteer work that a staff person probably could not even accomplish, even with a full-time staff person. I think they could do.
Oh, and Janet, before I forget, I just want to bring something to Cam's attention, since we have him, and is that almost the identical amount of our overage. I calculated this out just over the last couple of days. It appears, and Janet, let me know if I'm close. Appears to be Janet also does when she gives us her invoice every month. She also outlines the number of things that she works on with the town as in essence a liaison, as the resource person for the town for conservation issues. So she
yes, I'm certainly aware of that as well.
Okay.
Actually, John, I know, for example, Janet is quite active on the sustainability committee as well.
But also
as
pro
a
bono. A
liaison.
lot of it is pro bono.
Well, there's pro bono, but I was thinking particularly things such as when the stormwater bylaw and highway department issues and things of that nature that may not be assigned a particular address or resident, but there are things that the town reaches out to for her guidance as and that actually appears to come out to, I would say, Janet, would you say that's of your invoice? Let me just see if I have a copy here of your invoice on the first half of the invoice where you talk about the non-client expenses. Is that almost half of that is stuff that is interacting with the town as opposed to dealing specifically with or interacting with the town also for questions that other departments have, whether or not something is conservation related and things like that?
About half, but
yeah,
in that bucket, the non-applicant expenses are tree removal requests,
Mhm.
guidance to developers, attorneys, etc., just with questions, with
Mhm.
filing before us. But I'd say the majority of that isn't direct town work. I do represent the commission, like on the housing task force.
Mhm.
Was at the request, Robin Hunter requested that we be.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a range of things, and every month is a little different.
Mhm.
But generally it's half, but most of that is not guidance within town. It's not internal guidance, it's external.
Well, I was really shooting for a good theory there. But so because I'm thinking of the work that you put in for the tree bylaw, the stormwater bylaw, some of the review relative to the non-direct, the pre-review process for the river culverts on Willow and Center, things of that sort. That just seemed to, at points in time, took up a fair number of hours. So it made, like you said, it changes every month. But I think there's a fair number of, the point being, Cam, is that part of our overage goes to benefit the town on other issues than just directly for our conservation issues.
Yeah, and I know that there's a lot of appreciation for the work that Janet does across the town. So I don't think one of the reasons you're not getting a lot of pushback in the overages are that people realize that she's doing a lot of work.
So given that, and I didn't have a chance to go over things with Janet. I wasn't aware that granularity was going to be discussed at the previous meeting. And Cam, for your knowledge, the last 15 minutes of the last meeting, my computer glitched out and I wasn't around. Janet, why don't we talk sometime next week to sort of put some things together, some numbers together, and then we can bring this up at another meeting. Are there any? I share your concerns, which is why I've gone to the selectmen every year, to get that transferred there. It also can before we did that, because we're very parsimonious here, and we try not to ask you for much of anything. We actually exhausted several accounts that we had that had in order to cover those on our own. So it's clearly something that we just want to be above board about.
No, I fully accept that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions concerning that, or things that we should, Jen and I should discuss?
No, I've always said, I think I think we're trying to be transparent about our budget, and instead of going and asking for money, we should just have, our yearly budget of what we think our agent's salary should be, or consultant.
Well, and I think the reason I brought it up on a couple of occasions is that if we go ahead and we do that, it puts us into the territory where other towns typically have a full-time agent for that amount of money, including benefits.
And I understand all that, but at the same time, yeah.
And they're full-time. So so there's additional hours that are available and things like that. Janet makes a good case that some of the things that she has some expertise on may not be something that agents have. And there's also, there's a dearth of decent agents out there. So those all go into the picture there.
Right.
And I agree, as long as we're transparent about that, I think we all feel better about being upfront. I think historically, since we always ask for the money, we're kind of upfront anyway. Okay, then moving on. Given that, did folks have a chance to review Janet's invoice for September? Okay, so give you an idea of Cam, Janet's invoice for the month of September is $10,752. Of that, the things that are not directly applicable to specific addresses approximately half of that, $5,600, that included interfacing with other town departments, but also doing things as a normal agent would do, such as people, going out and looking at damaged trees or requests for trees and signing off on building permits and things of that nature. And then her actual time put in for applicant expenses for the people that have been in front of us, it was $4,700. So in that case, we're actually a little light on that end of things because we haven't had that many things in front of us. What you saw tonight too, which is an interesting thing, is that 100% of our items that were on this evening's agenda for applicants became applicants because of enforcement orders. And that has been a big increase that we've seen over the last 10 years. We're doing more enforcement orders that then eventually convert to a notice of intent or a request for determination than had been the stream for the previous 10 or 20 or 30 years. So that has become more of an issue. And I don't know if you'd heard about the 12 and 14 Miller Hill, the first one we talked about where they had 600 trees.
Right. I had heard about that.
You had. So that was that was a pretty far-reaching enforcement order, which I have to say, fingers, knock on wood, that seems to have turned out very amenably and productively. But it took a tremendous amount of effort on all the board members for that. So given that, and people had reviewed that, I'll entertain a motion to accept and pay Janet's invoice for the month of September.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. All in favor? Amy?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Zaya?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay. So that's how we spend. Okay, Janet, you have an agent's report?
So on the budget, I also just wanted to bring to the commission's attention that in the past, we've also talked about increasing the hours for our administrative assistant. And I think Lori was not interested in more hours. But I do think that if Deborah's interested in working more hours, she's already getting benefits. So increasing her position to full-time, which is really just another 6 hours, I believe, 6 or 7 hours, should be something that we at least consider. Because I do think, we make the case to warrant, what do we need? What are our actual level of expenses? And as long as we can provide a strong justification that we need additional resources to provide the services we are, then, that's something that we should think about.
Thank you. No, it was one of the things that we had discussed with HR with Robin Susino, and so I will discuss with Deb as well. And we noted to HR that for this particular fiscal year, since we got additional money for catching up on minutes, if we were to convert that over, the ability to that there'd be no net increase if we added those extra hours, or very minimal, if that. So things have kind of already been budgeted for that. So that's we'll discuss that over the course of the next week or so, and bring that up at the next meeting. Okay, then your report, Janet, for the week.
So I'm continuing to put Red Robin on the agenda. Paul McGovern, every meeting, 2 weeks go by, he says, I'm going to get that certificate of compliance to you, and we have not gotten it yet. So perhaps if we don't get it by our next meeting, we'll need to talk about enforcement, because the building is up and running. If there are deviations, we really need to have those addressed soon. I guess the good news is that those are rentals, and so we know who the owner is. The owner is not changing.
Do you know, there was a little bit, and I don't know if Deb has run into this yet, but there was a question of outstanding bills on the part of Red Robin, but with, what was the town engineer, the, Towns Engineering Company?
Tetra Tech.
Tetra Tech. And Paul was a little, the question was, who covers that? Did Tetra Tech break down what was for conservation versus what was for zoning board or other town related things? Do you know anything about that?
I do not know how that's been resolved, but I think.
And I bring that up just because I recall Paul McGovern bringing it up as in wondered whether it's a stumbling block on him getting things, because he needs a final engineering report, and I don't know if he knows who he's supposed to pay or what is supposed to be paid, and whether or not he was billed appropriately by Tetra Tech. So
But
that's
yeah, I mean, those are valid issues, but that should not hold up his COC application.
Mm-hmm.
I think we
So-
can get those once we get the application. I just what's holding that up, but I'll keep that.
Well, I know Deb, Lori had been speaking to him about that, and I think one of the reason I mentioned that was also, Deb, didn't something come in from Ecotech about invoices that had not been paid? Paul McManus's group this last week or last week?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, I thought there were, because we have him on as covering several different properties as as the outside engineer, outside review, and let's review
Okay.
that.
Yeah,
And then-
I did discover a folder for Tetra Tech.
Mhm,
And
okay.
maybe I can get into that a little tomorrow and just see what the latest communication actually is.
Well, there's
Assuming
that,
it's in there.
Well, and there's also, I was referencing Ecotech, which is
Oh, yes, yes.
and I thought that somebody from their office had reached out and brought-
Yes, and
yeah.
actually all those invoices had been submitted in the remote accounting system that we have. So
So we are on the hook to pay those. My question was, I thought when Paul does when he does peer review, in essence, he makes a proposal, and then he gets paid by the homeowner, and that money goes into a trust account.
Well,
And then Paul is paid out of that. So do we have money still in those trust accounts?
we do, and
Oh,
the larger of that account was that Pagan Lane.
Oh, for the dam?
Yes, exactly. So
Okay, so
it was
Mhm.
actually the beginning of my time in
Mhm.
Dover, and the resident came in with the 2,000 some balance, which
Mhm.
of course we immediately got, into the system.
Mhm.
So he did get paid that.
Mhm.
And there was, I can detail that for you exactly.
Okay,
what it
we'll
was.
we'll meet and
Yeah.
go over that. But
Okay.
I think I thought I couldn't tell by the email from Ecotech whether they were referencing those, and I didn't even think of those, frankly. I was thinking of some things where we've had 31 Springdale, 29 Saddle Ridge, where I think they were given bills and they may not have yet paid them. And I didn't know if that was referencing that or
Well, they did have a Springdale invoice, but the fact of the matter is, we do not have a valid escrow account for Springdale. So
That's
therefore, you can't pay what.
Right.
It's not.
No, so we'll
Yeah.
talk offline, and we'll straighten that out, and also make you more familiar with these outstanding
Exactly.
projects. Okay. Great, thank you. Go ahead, Janet.
So the next is a brief discussion. We have a conservation restriction on 165 Center Street, and I know there was some concern. One of the requirements of the CR is that the vista from the street be maintained open, and that the owner had done some planting of trees. So there was a discussion on that, but no, I don't think we had a plan as to who was going to reach out to the owner to discuss perhaps the pruning or the removal of those trees.
Well, I think the first thing is to make sure that they understand they have a conservation restriction on their property in the first place.
Okay, why don't we, Jen, do you want to get some pictures of that, or, actually, Tim, you go that way. Do you, can you, just pull over the side of the road so are these new plants behind the stone wall of, this is
There-
Richie Powers' old place?
No, it's the
Oh, no,
next
well,
place.
further
It's
up, the next one.
It's the new house that Parrish built where
Right.
where Linda Foyle was.
Oh, okay, so they put trees along
They
the
put,
front there?
like, lots of
Little
trees.
conifers along, right.
All along, as if those are gonna grow up and then block everything?
Yeah, they're really ugly.
They have a gap from us to cross the exercise field across Center Street to get into that field.
So, I mean, many people have been using green giants. They're a type of arborvitae that grow 3 feet a year. They look very scraggly when they get started. Is it?
I don't know,
Uh,
but they're behind a whole bunch of scraggly trees that shouldn't be there either.
Okay, why don't we, Tim, would you mind taking a couple pictures?
To be really nasty about it.
Well, no, I mean, we ran into this when the builder was, when Parrish was there.
Yeah, well, he didn't
And-
take down the chicken coop either. Did he
Well,
take
did he
all
take-
did he take the
Yeah, he took the quarter or a third of it that was added on. I thought,
and
I
he
was
took
under
the,
the
Yeah,
impression.
but
did he take the deck off?
My recollection was that initially there was a row of trees that that I can't remember the guy's name, who lived next door.
Richie Powers, yeah.
Richie
To the
Powers,
right.
Yeah, but there was some trees that came down for that vista.
Yep.
Also.
Well,
that
Chuck
person,
Norton did do a lot of
Invasives.
opening up of the vista and restored it the way that the Powers should have kept it, but they didn't.
and do the Powers have any sort of, or did that property have, it had a CR of some form, didn't it?
It's all.
The Power,
it's all part
both of
the-
them do.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
part of the
It's the same
Nightingale.
CR.
It's
Okay.
Same CR. It's all the
Okay.
Nightingale.
Okay. Well, then let's see what's actually going on. I'll drive by as well and take a look, and let's get our ducats in a row before we reach out to them, so that we can attach both the CR and some of the stuff that had been done prior to that.
I will
and,
send, who do you want me to send the CR to?
well,
Send it
at
to
this
John.
point, just
Or-
send it to Deb so that we can send it out of the office, and then we'll
Yes.
find out who the owner is there.
And,
Um,
well, so there's a new owner, supposedly the Nortons.
No, the Nortons, we're talking about 165. Both properties are part of the same CR.
Right. So it's the Gaynors. It's Paul Gaynor that lives at 165.
Okay, and is it 163, 159? What's Powers' house? Anybody know?
157.
157.
That I believe that's on the market.
It's already under agreement.
Oh, it's under agreement, which makes sense. It's a lovely place. So
Yeah.
so we should probably get something out to both parties, making them aware of what's going on. We'll take a look and see if there's an active party planting stuff that's going to impede that easement. We'll put together. We'll make that clear that that's not allowed.
That's Paul Gaynor,
Mhm.
who's doing most of the planting.
Oh, so he's a landscaper, or is he?
No, he lives there. He lives
Okay.
there.
Okay, so let's just let's pull together a package so that we can send this out and make ourselves much more aware of exactly the particulars here, and see if we can stop it before it gets along too far. Janet?
And this item was a continuing discussion on the legal requirements for the filing fees under the Wetlands Act and our bylaw.
Mm-hmm. So I met with Nina Pickering Cook, and that was one of the questions that I asked her to look into. I have not heard back from her on this. And I'll let Kim, we have so we deal with the budget that we get from the town. And the fees that we get for applications, part of them get split between DEP, and the other part comes to us. And in general, they go into the general fund. They don't go directly into our office. They come into maybe between $3,000 and $4,000 a year. So Janet ran across something, a legal requirement which says that that's supposed to go to conservation and not to the general fund. So I mentioned that to town council to look into that, because if that's by statute, then it may not need a town meeting vote to redirect stuff that way. And it's relative to our overall budget. It's small, but it would be helpful for since we've exhausted many other accounts. So that may come up in front of you once we get clarification from town council. Any other questions on that, Janet?
No.
Okay.
And
then go ahead.
I sent out 2 emails about upcoming wetland protection trainings. One is the MACC conference, and that's on October 25th, and that's on housing, environmental protection. So that could be really interesting, I think. And then the other is a series of free DEP trainings. So I encourage people, and if you attend all of the, I think it's 4 inland wetland training programs, you get a super regulator certificate. And you don't have to register for those.
You don't have to what?
You do not have to register in advance.
Oh, so are they all log on webinar type things?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay, great. Can you I don't know, did you send those links to commissioners at all?
I did. I sent.
Okay, great. And you say you're all for it. You're going for it. I appreciate it.
It's a good review.
I just wanted to bring up too, Jan, you put out an email on this, and I spoke to Jason Belmonte, the Board of Health agent, early this week. So things are really moving along pretty quickly with OpenGov, with the online permitting, and we're actually, pretty far along there. And so they have, was it the end of October, Janet? The training.
2 trainings at the end of October that Deb and I will both attend.
And so, and I may as well, given that I've dealt with that program at many other towns. But it appears that the company it's a lot of bang for your buck for the software relative to other software companies that the town has invested in their tech support. And they've continued to improve the ability to actually upload new forms, which is great, so that we get something that's very personalized for us. And Deb and I have been talking about the potential then we might be able to get a query system up there so that we can use that software to give us an idea of what's outstanding and what are open for things and where status and so forth, which is great, so that we don't have to keep pulling up a spreadsheet on that. So, does anyone have anything else to add?
I'm aware that Ted Ladd sent an email, I think it was to Deb a few days ago, expressing some concern at the lack of maintenance of the water's edge at Claybrook and Trout Brook. And I know he was hoping that might be discussed this evening, so I just wanted to raise that.
Sorry, I forgot to raise.
So Janet, you had responded to him, and were you looking at putting him on the next meeting's agenda?
Yep, we just got that. I just got that yesterday. And I told him we'd put that on our next agenda for discussion. It's an interesting question, and we may need to run that by legal counsel, but he's put a lot of money into weed harvesting to keep where Trout Brook merges with the Charles River. However, that's all private property. And as far as I know, the town or municipal government does not have an obligation to maintain any private property. But you know, it's a good question. I can see his concern. He's spending a lot. So I thought we'd put that on the agenda for next month.
So
next week.
Janet, one thing that we thought of, when we were talking about this at the open space meeting with Cam last night, is a lot of people don't realize, Carol Lisbon for one, that with permission, they can do stuff in the rivers and streams, but they need our permission to do so. So one of the things we thought was maybe one of your articles for the newsletter might be to highlight, work with Ted to write an article to highlight his project that shows proper stewardship and responsibility for the water and wetlands, and how you go about working with the Concom to do stuff. Just an idea for an article that might be very informative for people and really fascinating, I think. I almost want to give it to Stroll, but
well,
but
I think
won't.
before we go there, I think that, because I got the sense from reading Ted's emails too, is that he was also saying that going farther up Trout Brook, that trees fall down and then start to block things and impede the flow of things, and that also happens in the Charles at certain areas, and that who's responsible for that. And there, I'm not sure, because very often we've maintained the policy that if things fall in the woods, they stay there. If they fall in the water, they stay there. I don't know if property lines along the Charles or along, well, much of Trout Brook is actually Army Engineering, but the Corps of Engineers. But if lot lines, if they go halfway in, if there's a riparian right there, or if some of these waterways are all municipal waterways, for example, I don't know if the Charles, the main river, has property lines going into it, or if it's strictly state-owned.
And we
So I
talked
think
about that last night. I mean, Carol
Yeah,
and
but
I were saying that we can't even get down the Charles River into Needham now, because
Yeah,
all the
and
trees
so
right.
the question. So what I was thinking, Janet, can you give Alicia a call?
But if a tree, so Carol Lisbon is spending lots of money to take down some trees before they fall into the Charles, because she was under the belief, and I didn't think so, but maybe she was right, that if it falls in the Charles, then she can't do anything about it, and she can't get it, she can't take it out or cut it up. So maybe we need to find out about this. But I also just thought that, I think Ted's project was a wonderful example of how to steward your land and your wetlands properly, and that it might be nice to highlight a citizen that's giving back.
Well, I mean, I completely agree with you, Amy, but I also think it would be a great Stroll is Stroll, but I think that would be a great article for Stroll to get other people who are, new residents of Dover to see what other people do about conservation and the Charles River.
Yeah.
But it is an interesting thing though. I mean, we all drive over, I mean, I go to Needham all the time. If you look over Chestnut Street Bridge, you cannot get down the Charles River right now. So
yeah,
Carol and I were talking about that last night.
That's DLCT land though, so and we don't have thousands of dollars to dredge.
But it's not even
So have Ted
dredging, it's
become a
just-
member and.
Right. Well, he is a member.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
so
I
just
think
want to
that
interject.
Ted is not begrudging the fact that he's done this maintenance work. I think he values the environment a lot. I was just intrigued by the very question. Well, who is responsible for this? And if we could put a sort of town imprimatur on it to encourage people to to do that maintenance, then so much the better. I'm having had an article published about me about our house in Stroll a few months ago. I came to the conclusion that most people just throw it straight into the rubbish bin and never even look at it, and there's a lot of skepticism towards it in some quarters, perhaps not unjustified. So maybe that. I don't want to steer the log here at all. I was just making a comment that from my personal
I think
perspective, I find that interesting.
Both outlets have their own constituency, so maybe we should do it in both places.
Well, what's the second outlet?
The
Our
Dover
newsletter? Oh, right. Yeah. Well, so here's my underlying concern. I think this is great, and I think it brings to our attention questions that we don't have the answers for. And I think we should try to get some of those answers before we start asking people to give us a call.
Yes, no, I agree. I thought it was pretty clear that if the tree was in the river, that you could come before us and ask for permission to.
Well, and I don't know.
Take it out without permission.
But I don't know if that's, but I'm with
Well,
John.
that's why I asked Janet. That's why I asked Janet.
Yes,
Alicia is.
no, but
Let me
so
just
if we need
finish.
to figure out whether we can do it or not, then sure, definitely figure that out before you write the article.
Well, no, precisely, and that's my aim. So we want to get the data that we're going to get inundated with prior, get that prior to that. I asked Janet to give Alicia, what's Alicia's last name, Janet? Do you remember?
Alicia Geller.
She is the rider for DEP for our neck of the woods. And so dealing with river, actual rivers and things of that sort, she may have some of these answers for us as well. And the idea of finding out responsibility or stewardship or ownership, things of those things are all going to play into this. I agree with, I've noticed over the years, as Sarah has, is that these trees have been falling down on the Charles and they're just starting to build up. And the general thought is we can't do anything about that. But you would think now that it really is becoming a navigable issue, maybe it's being attended to, and other people have some answers for that we can then look towards, because I think it would be very helpful. And who knows what we're going to have when they open up the dam at South Natick.
Well, and this is a non sequitur, but it's also when I lived in the city for 25 years, there was a nonprofit called the Charles River Cleanup Crew, and we would go up and clean up the Charles River, up and down by the Esplanade, and it was just mostly plastic stuff. But I bet if Alicia says, well, I don't know who's responsible for cleaning up the trees, we could get a group of volunteers with chainsaws and canoes, or and we could.
No chainsaws.
I don't know. I don't know. If
we could start cleaning up some of the trees that are in the river.
I don't know if Ted made reference to it. I was just going to pull it up. I think he may have, but Charles River Water Association seems to have permission to do things like that.
So that would be is it upper Charles, or is it
no, just CRWA.
Okay.
CRWA, yeah.
They pull water chestnuts and other invasives, not necessarily.
No, but they may know who to ask or what the regulations are behind that. It's just another source
They probably do.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that's.
So,
although I think Ted did
chainsaws?
Ask them and got back, well, we're not too sure who's responsible for doing that.
Okay, so that's,
let's ask the DEP, because they're the ones who are going to slap people's hands for doing it.
That's true.
So, so I think Alicia would be the first place to start. And then one of the things we can do is maybe we'll look at, I was talking to Anna's brother,
Rick.
Rick at the LCT, and about his drone and so forth. And maybe we can do some snapshots of Trout Brook in particular. He had already done a portion of that up by the Channing. But to see what issues we have, I know that when we did a site visit with Brian Austin, is it Brian Austin? Brian Austin Green? It was Brian Austin.
Brian Austin.
That his section of Trout Brook had the same sorts of things. Lots of trees come down. He could no longer paddle his his kayak more than a couple 100 feet in either direction there. So that would, I think it's becoming an issue. And I think also one of the issues, Cam, that we've noticed is that many of the trees that we have fallen, you've heard about a number of people, that were on this evening, that they're all the same age. So once the farming stopped in town, everything grew up at the same time, and they're all aging out at the same time. So many of these things are sort of coming down together. So coming up with, I think Ted's, it's a great spur there to look into this, because it's only going to get worse, going forward, and finding out. And if we can't get answers, then that gives us the wherewithal to make our own. So we'll see.
Do you want to see a video of some of the drone video of the Bartlett Pines just across the street inland from Ted's house?
Oh, does it show a bunch of down trees?
No,
Sure.
it just shows a lot of marshland.
Oh, well, no, is that part of the video that you showed at the LCT?
Yeah, this is the
That
raw
was great.
footage. The raw footage from the drone shots that we did.
In other paths, walkable paths, it looks so wet there.
Well, Bartlett Pines, you can get on where the trees are. Obviously, where the drone went, it's all wet. But
yeah, why don't we do that as
there's
our end of evening video?
Here's your end of evening entertainment.
There we go. Right.
Yeah. So this.
Oh, so yeah, so my brother lives to the
I
right.
can
of us.
probably, yeah, I can probably speed it up here a little bit because it's kind of slow.
Oh yeah, was I doing half speed? Yeah. So, and did Rick do this or?
No, Lynn Damios, who's the videographer for the video that you saw at the meeting.
Oh, okay.
This is DLCT footage.
Yeah, I apologize, Amy, that Tim and I couldn't come to the annual meeting. We had another conflict.
Well, you were missed.
So is this join up with Trout Brook, or is this Trout Brook?
This is Trout Brook.
Yeah.
See, that's Trout Brook. That little S you see there, that's Trout Brook. The big channel is Trout Brook, and the rest is just its delta. I mean, you're in the delta of. It's not surprising that it's all kind of spewing out.
Swampland.
But then you kind of go around this corner, so you can see where the power lines are coming through. So that's where.
Yeah.
So that.
Oh, and is that where is Brian's house further on the other side of those power lines?
No, he's way up. This is between Claybrook and.
Claybrook. Yeah, this is like.
This is right just off of Claybrook. To the right is Bartlett Pines, and to the
Mhm.
left is Army Corps.
I was gonna say the Army Corps is right. This is exactly where my brother lives.
He
Something
lives.
about
He
stuff
lives to the
flowing
right. He lives
downstream.
to the right of this.
Right,
Yeah.
at
He's to the right of
134, yeah.
Bartlett.
Exactly.
He helps us keep our field mode.
Yes, he does help. Yes.
So Cam, we had a New England fisheries study give us a presentation a few months ago, and they had been looking at the fish in Trout Brook, and how due to beavers upstream, it has slowed the water so much that the water is now warmer, and it's changed the makeup of the fish. That it used to be, it was named after trout, and now there are no native trout anymore. So, great. Well, thank you very much for
I
that.
have another one. You want more?
Let me know, commissioners.
Could watch this all night.
Then we have to adjourn because it's quarter.
We hit a tree pretty fast, and it was like, oh, I'm not going any further. No, it stops itself when it gets near trees. So
Oh,
that's
sweet. Oh, okay. So things have improved.
Or
Anyway,
an
well, thank you
AI.
very much.
here's your pretty.
So, Cam, I hope you
another
enjoyed our
17
meeting.
seconds.
Yes, it's
enjoyed
quite
having you.
interesting. My involvement in the town up until now has mostly been on financial side of things, and I have an intense personal interest in the environment. So it's very interesting for me to get engaged in this area.
You know, I don't know if there's any rule against being on a commission while you're still a select person. So just something to keep in your mind.
Yes, I don't think
Could
I
just
can
be
be.
the liaison.
Yeah, you can be the liaison.
But I'm happy
Right,
to
the
be a
liaison. It's the next. It's a better thing, actually. So great. Well, thank you very much, everybody, and
Thank you.
it's been very helpful. And hearing no opposition, this meeting's adjourned. Thanks.
Thank you.
Night, everyone.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.